So I'm here with my friends Chris and Kevin Moon.
Hi.
And
Howdy.
they are longtime friends back from the college days. And, we just reconnected because they're actually working on the wildfire, helping wildfire victims. And they've helped people in the California fires and Maui. So that'll be really interesting to interview them. And feel free to drop questions below if you have questions for them, even if you're watching the replay of this. And so they have helped victims to reclaim over $100 million in losses. And we're going to talk a little bit about, what to do if you know someone that has lost a home, or if you've lost a home in the fire. Maybe you can, if you know someone, you could share this with them. But, it's something so difficult to navigate. So they're going to really walk you through how they've helped other people through this time, things that they should know about, because they can help even recover claims just above and beyond what insurance might cover. So let's hear about you and your practice.
Yeah, well, so our firm is called Moon Law, and I'm Kevin Moon, and this is Chris Moon.
Nice to meet you.
We are twins, and we've been lawyers for about 19 years, and we've been doing wildfire cases specifically for about 8 years. And we got into it after we started our own firm at that time. We come from a background of lawyers and firefighters, so it really just made sense for us to get into this practice. And we really like helping people. And so we've worked on all the major fires in California. We're currently working with hundreds of clients in Maui for the Lahaina fire. And now we're here in Pasadena meeting with clients who've been affected by the Eaton fire in Altadena. And so thank you for having us, Amber. Really appreciate it.
This is their first time going live, so this is new for them, right? They're used to being, in the courtroom, but not on
That's right. Media. So excuse us if we're not as familiar with this.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Well, obviously it's such a devastating thing to happen to somebody, just one day your home's there, next day it's burned down, everything is gone. So, where should people start, in this process? Let's talk about going through this right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously you want to get to a place of safety. I mean, that goes without saying. And I'm assuming if you're seeing this that you probably have achieved that. The other thing that's really important too is insurance. And right after a fire, most folks have some kind of insurance, and they're going to be dealing with their insurance company. And dealing with insurance can be really tricky. And so that's something that we also help folks with is learning how to, to ask the right questions, really document your losses, do it right away, because there are going to be so many different people filing insurance claims that if you start it early in the process, it'll likely get processed that much faster. And with insurance, a lot of times you're going to find that you're underinsured. So if you lost your home, if you lost personal property, you might have some money that will compensate you for some of that loss, but it's not going to cover everything. And that's one of the big problems that folks are going to realize pretty quickly, is that they were underinsured. And Kevin and I have represented hundreds of wildfire clients over the years, and probably 97 or 98% of them were underinsured. That is, they didn't have enough money to pay for the cost of rebuild for their home or pay for their lost personal property. And that's why we do these wildfire lawsuits. And I'm sure Kevin can talk more about that as well.
Yeah, so the lawsuits come in where insurance basically fails. And so you're underinsured, you don't have enough money to rebuild your home, and that's because your limits aren't high enough. And the problem with these kind of cases and these situations is that the cost to rebuild goes way, way up after a wildfire, because there are a lot of people who want to rebuild, and there's only so many contractors. Building materials go up, and so insurance usually only covers maybe a quarter to a third of it. And that's where these lawsuits come in. You can sue essentially to recover the difference in what you get from insurance and what the full value is of your claims, both to rebuild your home and for things that insurance don't cover. Insurance is not going to cover the emotional distress that you suffered. You're going to have claims for that, and pain and suffering. And if you've been, your job's been affected and you've lost income, insurance is not going to cover that. But that's something that you can go after in the lawsuit. And so that's what we do, is we represent clients to pursue those claims to get them, all the damages they're entitled to.
Right. And what you're going to figure out really quickly is that, everyone who is affected by, the Eaton fire, for example, the one that we're currently working on, everyone is going to join the lawsuit at some point, because they realize it's the only way to get compensated for the full range of your losses. And again, that's where we come in. We file these lawsuits on behalf of our clients, and we pursue, the highest amount we can for you, and to replace, your personal property, your cost of rebuild, your emotional distress, and all these additional categories of damages, just depending on your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's super interesting because we were talking about how they told me, because they work with these victims from California, from Maui, and how there can be some PTSD that happens. This may not be something, if you just lost your house, you're not thinking about how you're gonna feel years from now, but this and how your children might be affected. So let's talk a little bit about that PTSD and the emotional suffering and how you help people get some of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're very early days in the kind of the post-fire recovery. I mean, the fire is actually ongoing still, and so a lot of people are, rightfully so, in shock, and they're sort of just feeling numb right now. But then once time goes on and you sort of start kind of rebuilding your life, you're going to be processing what you just went through, and having to evacuate from your home, having to lose your home, everything, your neighbors, just your whole way of life. It's very, very traumatic. And we've had clients who will one week just seem like they're fine, other weeks they'll smell wood smoke, and it'll just, all those feelings will be re-triggered. And so, self-care is very important at this stage. A lot of our clients have, gone out and gotten therapy and counseling or joined survivors groups. And that's really important because that kind of stuff can cause, a ton of anxiety and depression and just a lot of mental health issues.
Yeah, you mentioned fire brain.
Yeah. Right. No, exactly. And so it's very common, in the days after a fire and even the months after a fire to sort of just have, memory issues or other kind of cognitive problems, just because you're dealing with kind of the grief and the trauma. And so, there's a term that we've heard is, fire brain. Right. And that's kind of explains what a lot of those feelings are like.
Right. Yeah. And the one thing I think that's really important, because there's going to be so many lawyers that are coming out of the woodworks, they look at these fires as a potential to get a lot of clients. But if you're not working with someone that's specialized in this specific market, it may not be the best thing for you. Where these, Chris and Kevin have been working in this for 8 years, specifically in wildfire. So let's talk about why that matters.
Yeah.
And how you got into this line. Talk about your family a little bit.
Yeah. Like Kevin mentioned, we come from a background of lawyers and firefighters, so it really made sense for us to do this kind of work. And frankly, we really like working with real victims, people who've really suffered loss. It motivates us. It gets us out of bed in the morning to work with these folks and do everything we can. I think one, like you mentioned, Amber, one thing to be aware of is, whenever there's a big wildfire, you'll get a lot of law firms coming in, attempting to represent clients, but they have no experience in wildfire litigation. It's a very specialized area. We've worked with, a team of wildfire experts over the years, and we've got really good at pursuing these cases and getting the highest value settlements we can for our clients. I think what makes us different than a lot of the firms that do this work is, we tend to work with a smaller group of clients, and we get to know them extremely well. And so you're not going to just be dealing with a secretary or some law clerk. You're going to have a real lawyer working on your case at every phase of the case. We're going to get to know you very well, because really, I don't know how else you can litigate these cases unless you truly understand the person and what they've gone through. It helps us do a great job for you at the end of the day. And so again, like we differentiate ourselves because you'll always have one of us working with you exclusively on every aspect of the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really great. Yeah. And
I guess the other thing I'll add too, just in terms of the way it works, is that we work on contingency. Mm-hmm. And so that means that you don't have to come out of pocket and pay us anything for your case. We work on it for free. We cover all the costs, and we don't get anything back unless there's a settlement or a judgment. And so at the end of the day, if you don't recover something, then you don't owe us anything, and we eat the costs. Right. But we have a very good track record. I mean, we've always gotten settlements for our clients in past fires, right. and so.
Yeah, that's great. And they have a 100% success rate. They've helped people recover over $100 million, so fire victims. So they have that track record. Now, I know one thing I had heard about, you may have heard about this, in Maui, the Maui fires, is that people lost their homes and then they had to pay their mortgages still. So let's talk about that, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you are required to continue to pay your mortgage, but a lot of lenders will have what are called forbearance programs. So it's really important you go talk to your lender, the mortgage company, and see what they can do for you. And a lot of times you can get forbearance, meaning that you don't have to pay your mortgage for up to a year. And so you get some relief that way. You can work with some of the other things like your utility bills and things like that could be suspended during this time. So there's different things you need to do, but it's really important to talk to your insurer, talk to your mortgage company, and just so you can find out what kind of help you can get. I think coming online soon, there's going to be some federal government help through FEMA, and so there might be some money available there to help you with just finding a place to live or buying groceries and some of the basic necessities. But that's something that we can help you with, and we can counsel you on to make sure you're taking advantage of all these different opportunities.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I'll mention too is it goes to an earlier question that Amber asked, which is all the different lawyers that are going to be coming in and trying to work with clients. I think at the end of the day, what's really important is not only do you select a lawyer, a law firm that really knows what they're doing, that specializes in these cases, but that you also feel very comfortable with. Because if they're doing their job correctly, you're going to spend a lot of time with that person. That lawyer is going to really want to get to know you and understand your case. So you just want to like the person you're working with. So that's something to think about. It's not just necessarily, how big the law firm is, for example. Really ask those hard questions. What are you going to do for me? How are you going to treat me? Am I going to work with a lawyer? And so these are all important things to think about.
Definitely. Well, that's great. Well, I'm sure if you've watched this, you can tell how knowledgeable they are about this line of work. So if you want to reach out to Kevin and Chris, I'm going to put their contact information in the post caption here, or you can go to their website, just moonlawapc.com.
That's right.
Correct?
Moonlawapc.com.
Yeah. A like apple, P like pickle.
C like Charlie.
C like Charlie. We're gonna. I'll put the website down below. So feel free to call them. Like I said, you may after watching this realize that there's much more you need to know about this process, and so it's free to give them a call, have a conversation. They'll be happy to help you make sure you're doing the right things to protect yourself.
And we love working with folks, so feel free to call or email anytime. Thanks so much, Amber.
Thanks, Amber.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And ask any questions you have below.